As mobile devices are becoming more common as primary consumption devices for BI assets, we have more requests to deploy our BI reports and dashboards out to tablet devices like the iPad. In this lesson, we're going to look at how we can use reporting services in SharePoint to deploy solutions like this to the iPad device. The first thing we'll use in this solution is SharePoint 2010. We'll also need network connectivity to the iPad. We'll talk about the various ways we can accomplish that. And we're going to use reporting services installed in integrated mode in this solution. This isn't the only possible way you could deliver the SharePoint content, but this is what we're going to use in this example. And then we'll have some reports that we published into reporting services integrated mode, of course. And we'll develop a web part page to host those reports and format it just the way we want with the iPad. Finally, we'll use a custom master page which has been modified to present a really finger-friendly navigation scheme that is going to work better on the iPad than an out-of-the-box V4 master page. A critical piece of getting the iPad connected to SharePoint is really thinking about how that iPad is actually going to connect to SharePoint. If you're only going to deploy this solution within your building, within your intranet, where the iPad is connected to the Wi-Fi network that's behind the firewall and has a clear shot at SharePoint, there's really nothing you need to configure. The iPad just needs to connect to the network has SharePoint, and this all works pretty easily. However, many iPads are not always connected to the internal network, so we need to decide what were we going to do when the iPad is traveling. We might do none of these. We might just say you can only use this solution when you're in the building. Most iPad users take these things home, they take them on trips, they take them to the airport. So if we want to provide access to the public internet, we need to think about how to do that. One way is extending SharePoint directly to the web, which is completely supported in SharePoint. We can put our SharePoint server directly on web if we want to. If we don't want it directly on the web, we could put it behind a VPN. The iPad supports various VPN clients. There's a PPTP client built into the iPad that can be used, and some of the major VPN concentrator vendors are providing iPad clients, such as Cisco and Juniper. Normally you're going to have to pay up for this as an additional cost. However, they are becoming more available. A third option, and the one we'll actually use in this solution, is kind of a hybrid. We're going to publish the SharePoint site to the web through a reverse proxy server, in our case, Forefront TMG. One thing to note, in any of these solutions, iPad is going to run the Safari web browser, which does not support integrated Windows authentication. So your iPad user will get prompted for username and password. So let's look at the architecture of the solution, and then in the next lesson we'll actually walk through and take a look at it. The first part of our solution is our data, and we have some data in this solution that's in SQL Server relational databases. We have some that are in Analysis Services Cube, so our reports will actually leverage both of these. And that data will be built into reports using reporting services published in integrated mode. And then that's hosted within SharePoint 2010. We do have a custom master page that is developed with SharePoint Designer. In this solution, we're supporting iPad devices not only on the internal Wi-Fi network, but also as they're traveling on the internet. And we're securing SharePoint by publishing it through Forefront TMG's reverse proxy services. The iPad actually talks to Forefront TMG using SSL, and the TMG is reverse proxying those connections back to the SharePoint server. So that's the overall architecture and the pieces that we need to make this solution happen. In the next lesson, we'll actually walk through what that looks like and how the pieces fit together on the back end and what it looks like on the front end for the iPad.